Hi, this is my 3 Live audience for my presentation today. Alrighty. Imagine waking up one day thinking it's going to be a regular day. You go to work, you come home, you spend time with your family, just like any other regular day would look like. But this time, instead, you get out of work and suddenly you're surrounded by guards and taken away. With no explanation, no warning. Your spouse and kids are left at home wondering why you never came home. Later, they find out you're sitting in a detention center, even though you've never committed a crime before. We've all seen the recent headlines. Even if you or someone you know is documented, these enforcement tactics affect entire communities. Schools, hospitals, and workplace have become sites of fear. Aggressive immigration enforcement is deeply harming communities across the U.S. These policies not only break up families and cause lasting psychological trauma, but they also destroy trust in public institutions and spread fear throughout neighborhoods. Today, I'm going to explain the harmful impact of ICE's recent enforcement. Then, I'm going to talk about the systemic causes behind this shift. And finally, I'm going to give you guys some real solutions that could help protect public safety without tearing families apart. Alrighty, so let's begin by understanding what the real impact of these deportation tactics look like. Immigration enforcement is being done in an inhumane way and damaging way to families and communities. U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement, for short ICE, has detained legal residents and even U.S. citizens based on racial profiling. A 2023 report from the American Immigration Council, a nonprofit that advocates for fair immigration policy, revealed that U.S. citizens were unlawfully detained due to mistaken identity. This isn't a legal mistake. It's a civil rights failure. The impact on children is long-lasting. The U.S. Committee for Refugee of Immigrants, a nonprofit focused on refugee protection, found that children separated from these families during these ICE raids often experience severe mental health effects, including PTSD and chronic anxiety. These aren't just isolated cases, they're systemic consequences. Alrighty. Now that we've seen how damaging the effects are, let's look at what's causing this aggressive approach. The issue is rooted deeply in political charged enforcement priorities and racial biases. One of the biggest causes is the political rhetoric that paints undocumented immigrants as criminals. This narrative fuels the public support for more extreme enforcement to be had in the United States, even though many of these arrests have no criminal history. In fact, ICE enforcement disproportionately targets Latino and Black communities. In 2023, Axios reported that ICE operations tend to focus on industries like agriculture and construction, places with high numbers of Latino or Black workers. This clearly suggests racial profiling plays a key role. Worse, there's almost no oversight to these raids. The ACLU, a leading civil rights organization, has documented hundreds of incidents where ICE used excessive force or conducted arrests in sensitive places like hospitals and schools. That's far beyond their intended authority. These issues deserve solutions, and there are real solutions to these issues. So let's talk a little bit about them. Policy reform and community-based resilience can reduce harm without compromising public safety. At the federal level, ICE should solely focus on real public safety threats. Policies need to restore access to bond hearings, limit ICE presence in schools and hospitals, and improve oversight. The ACLU, a leading civil rights organization, urges the administration to restrict ICE activity in sensitive spaces and implement stronger guidelines for arrests. At the community level, the American Friends Service Committee, a nonprofit advocating for immigrant rights, recommends public education and local action. Communities can multiply by learning their rights and supporting sanctuary policies. Of course, some people aren't going to agree on this matter, and we're not going to see eye to eye. And that's only natural. So let's consider the opposing view. Some people argue that aggressive enforcement is necessary to uphold immigration law and protect American jobs. The Center for Immigration Studies, a conservative policy group, supports a strategy called attrition through enforcement. Their policy brief promotes increasing deportations to make undocumented individuals self-deport themselves by creating an unlivable environment. While this viewpoint claims to uphold legal integrity, it often ignores the human cost. The fear created by these tactics affects legal residents and U.S. citizens as well, especially in mixed status families. According to the Cato Institute, many individuals caught in ICE raids have no previous criminal history, despite the recent claim that was made by ICE, basically saying that their enforcement only targets public safety threats. Alrighty, knowing what the problem is, what causes it, and how we can help fix it, what do we do now? Aggressive immigration enforcement isn't just a policy issue. It's a humanitarian one. It breaks apart families, spreads fears, and disproportionately targets communities of color. We looked at how it damages lives, what drives it, and what can be done, and why some opposing arguments fall short. So, what can you do? First, you can get informed. You need to know your rights and support immigration reform. That prioritizes humanity and fairness. Advocate for local and state policies that reflect humanity and not fear. We all want to live in a country that values justice and safety, but real justice doesn't come at the cost of tearing families apart. A real just society protects all of us, all of its people. Thank you for listening to my presentation today.